Type 1 Diabetes Cure Update. Hey everybody, my name is Devin. I run Crushing T1 here on TikTok and on Facebook. If you are affected by type 1 diabetes in any way, please follow my Facebook group, Crushing T1. Professionally, I am an anesthesia provider and my daughter has type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed at the age of 11 months old and she just turned 6. I have always stayed very up to date on all things type 1 diabetes cure research, and that's why I created these groups so that I can bring all of this information to you in layman's terms. I have a few things I want to talk about today. The first is that Elidon Pharmaceuticals flew 4 doctors out to New York City this morning to do a presentation to the New York Stock Exchange about their landmark drug, Tegoprubart. Elidon Pharmaceuticals is doing one of the most exciting trials on curing type 1 diabetes right now. If you haven't heard about it, I did a 3-part series on my TikTok page here, so look for those videos. In summary, they have a drug called Tegoprubart that is a CD40 ligand inhibitor. Let me briefly tell you how it works. Right here you can see a T cell that is one of the immune cells responsible for attacking and killing beta cells in the case of type 1 diabetes. Here you can see this T cell binding with a dendritic cell. These are both immune cells, and when they bind together, they begin this terrible cascade of beta cell destruction. This is one way beta cells are killed. Elidon Pharmaceuticals has an amazing drug called Tegoprubart that is a CD40 ligand inhibitor. So it comes and binds to this molecule called CD40 ligand right here, and it prevents these two cells from linking up, and therefore it prevents the destruction of the beta cell. One of the most exciting things that came out of this meeting in New York City today was that Elidon officially announced that there's 3 people with type 1 diabetes that are off insulin, completely off. And they are taking Tegoprubart to protect their islet cell transplant that they received. Islet cell transplants have been going on for decades, but the drug that has been used to protect those cells is called tacrolimus. That is a horrible drug with nasty side effects. It has terrible toxicities when it's taken for a long period of time. Tegoprubart does not have any of those terrible side effects, so that's why this is so exciting. Tacrolimus is a terrible drug that's been used forever, and it globally weakens the entire immune system. Tegoprubart, you could say that it dampens the immune system through one specific pathway, but it does not globally weaken the immune system like tacrolimus does. One of the most exciting things about Tegoprubart is that when it is used to protect things like beta cells, those beta cells actually perform their job 3 to 5 times better than a tacrobeta cell. That means that they are able to produce insulin in response to carbohydrates 3 to 5 times better than a tacrobeta cell, which has been the industry standard forever. So that's the first big thing I wanted to talk about, was that Elidon officially has 3 people off of insulin now, and they also announced that 3 more type 1 diabetics are going to begin dosing this month in July of 2025, and they're going to do another 3. So we're going to have a total of 9 patients. We'll probably have data on them at some point in Q4 of this year. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Sernova. Sernova is a company that has been trying to cure type 1 diabetes for several years. Their CEO is Jonathan Rigby. This is Jonathan. He has type 1 diabetes himself and is very passionate about curing type 1 diabetes. I've listened to several interviews of him. I really enjoy listening to him. He's a great guy. The way that Cernova is trying to cure type 1 diabetes is by taking islet cells and placing them inside of these cell pouches here. You can see an 8-channel, and they created this larger 10-channel to try to get better results. What they do is they bring a patient in for a surgical procedure to insert these cell pouches and then give them a little bit of time for blood vessel growth to come on and establish a blood supply to these cell pouches. And then they come back a little bit later and they inject the islet cells into the cell pouch after there has been a blood supply established. The problem with using encapsulated devices like this is that when you place them in the body, you trigger the foreign body response. That's where the immune system starts freaking out and starts laying down fibrin all over these devices and starting to kind of wall them off from the body to protect the body. And when that happens, blood supply to these cell pouches becomes compromised, and beta cells that produce insulin, they need a lot of oxygen delivered to them. So when you start to cut off oxygen delivery to these cell pouches, the beta cells start to die, and you are not achieving your goal. The reason why you haven't heard me talk a lot about Cernova is because I believe they still have some significant hurdles that they need to clear before we really get excited about what they're doing. According to my research, most of Cernova's patients have required what's called a portal vein top-off in order to achieve complete insulin independence. You can see cohort A had 5 of 6 patients that received a modest dose. Cohort B had 1 patient. And what that means is that that cell pouch I showed you is not doing the job completely by itself. It needs a little extra help from some of these cells that are implanted directly in the liver. But this collaboration that was announced today really got me thinking. If their cell pouch was fairly close to achieving insulin independence, maybe if they combine it with Tegoprubart, that will push them over the edge, and they might, just might, be able to produce enough insulin within the cell pouch alone to achieve insulin independence. Because remember, Tegoprubart allows the beta cells to work 3 to 5 times more effectively than a tacrolimus beta cell. I think that's the reason why they are collaborating with Elidon, and to just get their patients off of nasty tacrolimus. One more thing about the foreign body response. Do you guys remember Vertex's study called VX264 that was discontinued last year? It failed. Well, why did it fail? This is what the disc looked like. They put islet cells inside this disc, and they implanted anywhere between 2 and 6 of them in the peritoneal space of the abdomen to see if you could achieve insulin independence this way. But they found out that they were not achieving insulin independence because of the foreign body response that I mentioned. So this collaboration between Cernova and Elidon is really exciting to me because it might just be enough to push Cernova's cell pouch over the edge so that it could achieve insulin independence on its own without any portal vein top-off because of how much more effectively the beta cells work when they're being protected by Tegoprubart. Elidon is also doing a separate study called the BESTOW study with kidney transplant recipients, and that is going amazingly well. These kidneys are performing so much better than a tacro kidney. Their GFRs are anywhere between 70 and 90 opposed to the industry standard of about 50 with tacrolimus. It just goes to show you what an awful drug tacrolimus really is. Aside from all the toxicities that you can get, nephrotoxicity, neurotoxicity, hypertension, insulin resistance, those are the things that they can lead to over time. These grafts just are not performing their job very well because it's just an awful drug. Last October, Elidon announced that 2 of their 3 patients were insulin independent, and today we received that confirmation that the 3rd patient is in fact off of insulin as well. So all 3 patients are off insulin. They're dosing 3 more this month in July. There's going to be 3 more after that. We're going to have data on 9 patients by quarter 4 of this year most likely. And spoiler alert, it's going to be good news, I can almost guarantee you. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick is that Dr. Piotr Witkowski, who is running this trial for Elidon in Chicago, he talked about Vertex's stem cell-based islet cells that they are producing right now. And I do believe there may be a future collaboration between Elidon and Vertex. Today we heard about Elidon and Cernova. I believe we're going to hear about Elidon and Vertex in the not too distant future, because all those Vertex patients that are going off insulin, they're on tacrolimus right now, and we need to get them off of that drug and get them on Tegoprubart. Thank you for watching this update. I know I talked about a lot of things in it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I can do some follow-up videos and respond to your comments. Thank you. Crushing T1. Let's go.